I didn't bring my personal laptop with me this time, so watch me not film a single fucking thing so that I don't have to spend 7 years editing when I get back to Germany. Is the 29th of October. It is about 10 o'clock in the evening, and in maybe about 5 minutes, Lexie is going to be starting like a 12-hour slumber party kind of thing. So, a live show with changing up guests and reading sprints and games, and I think they're dressing up. I'm not entirely sure. I have been trying, attempting, and failing to get started properly with The Kiss Curse by Aaron Sterling. When I say all day, I'm not even joking. I read some of it on the plane over here and then suddenly just got hit with a wave of tiredness. I don't know why I'm playing with the plug. So I just put it down and just listened to a podcast that I was listening to, or listened to some music on my phone, and just kind of de-zoned for the rest of the trip. So I'm going to watch Lexie's live show, get reading a little bit of it before I go to bed. I am completely wiped, as a day of traveling usually does. I am completely exhausted. So I'm going to just kind of chill out. I'm going to make some tea. I'm going to watch the live show. I'm going to read a little bit of my book. I'm going to get involved a little bit with the show. And then when I can really feel the waves coming, I'm just going to zone out. I'm sorry, can we talk about how good Cailey looks? Talking about understanding the assignment. What time of day is too early for pasta? Is it 5 to 10 in the morning? It's the 1st of November, which means spooky season, RIP, long live the festive period. But gorgeous, gorgeous girls don't finish their final spooky season book until the 1st of November because they are horrific at organising their personal time. So I still have maybe 25 minutes left of the audiobook to The Kiss Curse by Aaron Sterling. This is a book that exists and I read it. Angle is slightly better, lighting is slightly better. I don't know why it's not as good for me as the XX was. I'm not entirely sure what it was that just didn't work for me. I think it's the rivals to lovers parts of this. Sometimes rivals to lovers just doesn't hit for me as much as, say, friends to lovers or second chances would hit for me. So I don't really know what else it was. As well as that, when I was listening to the audiobook and I was listening to Wells, who is the main love interest, for some reason he's Welsh but has an Irish accent in the audiobook, which I'm not entirely certain that I understand the process of that, but I'm nearly finished it. I think it's going to come out in Callpile as maybe a 3 to a 3.5 star. Let's see where we end up. But I have got something planned for my next read. I truly believe that if I do not start reading The Wedding Crasher after work this afternoon, Brianna is going to come and burn my house down. So I'm going to read it. She has told me that I'm going to love it. Michelle from Michelle's Library has told me I'm going to love it. They've both said that they feel like this is a very me kind of book. So I am going to trust their judgment and I'm going to see how I feel about it myself. It has not stopped raining since I came to Ireland, and I kind of think I'm the problem. Also, we're finally starting to get to a hair colour that I actually wanted it to be. See what I said about multiple washes and then you're fine? Last night, I got up to about page 90 of The Wedding Crasher by Mia Sosa. And if you ever tell Brianna I said this, I'm going to deny it, but she was right. This is one of the best books I think I'm going to read all year. I'm early doors and I already know I'm going to really enjoy this. So it is about Solange and Dean, who meet each other at Dean's wedding. And it turns out that the woman who he is getting married to, Ella, has been cheating on him or knows somebody that she wants to cheat on him with or something like that. So the wedding is called off. And then Dean and Solange, for their own reasons, go into a fake dating situationship. And what I really loved about it is that there was kind of boundary set up by Solange to say, I am busy on these days, please don't contact me for this. Or you have to respect that I am a busy career person and that I have a lot to go on in my professional life. There was really a lot about that book that I really liked so far, but something that I've also really liked is the steam level. I think this is probably going to be around a 4 chili mark. Probably high levels of 3.5 to low levels of a 4. And that is exactly what I am needing at this moment in time. I'm kind of feeling an audiobook situation and I don't know what one to go for. I was talking to my friend Lily last night and she told me the kind of spice levels of the Bergman Brother books by Chloe Leese. And I know that she is obsessed with those books. I know that she really loves Chloe Leese as an author. She said that she is really good at writing neurodivergent representation and also that her steam levels are pretty good. So I think maybe if I'm still feeling audiobooky, I might just put one of those on and see how we're getting on. Because I'm back at my parents' house this month, I got my Words and Kisses parcel delivered to my parents' house. And today it has arrived. I don't have a scissors anywhere near me, so I'm going to try and rip this as best as I can. I think this is my 3rd book of 6. And this month is... Ooh, let's check this out first. Something a little spooky and a lot surprising this month. Stick with it. It all works out in the end. That is very intriguing. I've just read the bookmark that comes with it. And it says hot ghoul reading. Obsessed. Okay, so I feel like it's kind of spooky romance. A witchy romance? No, it's not going to be a witchy romance. I'm going to make a guess for like the Dead Romantics or something. So, oh, I forgot that it would be wrapped. So, I love their wrapping paper, by the way. I absolutely adore the Words and Kisses wrapping paper. If Amy ever sells rolls of this, I'm all over it. So, this month was Dead Romantics. I actually really wanted to get a physical copy of this because I listened to the audiobook and I really enjoyed it. So I am really glad that this one has come through. Today is busy. Usually on a Saturday my mom goes shopping, so I'm going to come with her for a little bit. Going to pick up like a couple of things for dinner during the week, a couple of things I want to bring back with me to Berlin, a couple of things that people have asked me to bring back to Berlin for them. Today my mom, my aunt and my grandmother are going out for afternoon tea. If I can and it doesn't look like really common, I will try and take some pictures. I will try and show you what it looks like, because I know it's not a big phenomenon everywhere in the world. A couple of people that I've told who I'm going in Berlin, for example, or in the US have been like, what is an afternoon tea? So I'm going to show you what it looks like. Last night, as you see, I made lasagna. We're going to have that for dinner when we get home. And I also jumped on with Brie for a couple of hours on her sprints, and I got about 200 pages into The Wedding Crasher, and oh, this book is really starting to fire up. Michelle and Brie both told me that there was a scene that they just read with their jaws hanging off them, and I was like, okay. I thought it was an earlier scene than I had read, and I was like, this is not that spicy at all. This is very tame. Then I got to the scene that I read last night, and I very much understood why. I was a little bit kind of on the fence about it for the first couple of chapters, but I think now I'm getting really, really into it. At this present moment, I'm on sprints with Brie and Margaret from The Word Nerd. And I felt a little bit non-fiction-y, having just finished The Wedding Crasher. I had a phenomenal time, gave it a 4.5 out of 5, that I think I'm going to round up to a 5. I really loved the kind of family situation that is in this book. You can tell that family means a whole lot to Solange, that Dean doesn't really have a great relationship with his mother, but they kind of get along with each other anyway. They kind of get like, they know. I felt a little bit non-fiction-y though, so I went for a book that's on my NetGalley shelf with ages. I discovered that it was actually published in April of this year, so I should have gotten to it sooner. But it's called Why the Titanic Was Doomed by Brian Jackson. And I thought I knew everything about the Titanic. You had like your horse girlies when we were in school, or you had like your soccer girlies or whatever. I was a certified Titanic girly. I think I discovered the ship when I was maybe 8. I was definitely in second class. And in our library in the classroom, we had like a couple of those DK mini encyclopedias about one subject. So there was definitely ones about ancient Rome. There was also one about ancient Egypt. There was another one about like the Olympics. So not Greek culture as a whole, but the Olympics as a special book itself. And there was also one about the Titanic that I clung to. I'm almost certain I probably tried to like bring it home with me one night and just not bring it back. But our class library had like a little book that you had to sign in and out of, so I'd never gotten away with it. It's almost like 20 years later and I'm still obsessed with this ship. And when I went into this book, I thought there's nothing that this book is going to teach me. I know everything that there is to know about this big ass boat. I was incorrect. I've learned so much about the night of the sinking, about the ship's building, about what happened when it went from Belfast to Liverpool and from Liverpool to Southampton, and how it was delayed by work that had to be done on the Olympic, which was one of its sister ships, and that if those delays hadn't happened, the maiden voyage would have probably taken place in March rather than April, and then the Titanic wouldn't have hit an iceberg because the icebergs wouldn't have gotten as far south in March as they had in April. I feel like right now I'm kind of verging onto the territory of what subject can you give an unprepared lecture about for a half an hour. So I'm gonna go back to the book, and I'm now expecting to learn even more. And I never thought this would be possible. Well, I did say I wouldn't be filming much these 2 weeks, and I was correct. I think it's Wednesday. I believe it's Wednesday. I haven't actually checked in, I'd say since maybe Sunday, but I have got some books to tell you about, because I have been reading and I have been listening to books and I have been like finishing stuff up and DNFing some stuff that just wasn't working for me. But after that book, I was still
kind of in the feeling for a non-fiction book. And I wanted to read 32 Words for Field by Malcolm Mangan, but I also figured out that I wouldn't finish it in time to get back to Berlin without having to bring the book with me. It wasn't a particularly long book. It's just that I don't have the attention span. I don't have the time to get it all read in that little 48 hour period. I was flicking through kind of the dregs of my Kindle, the back end pages that I rarely go on, and I kind of thought that the first non-fiction book that I lay my eyes on, I'm going to pick it up. And that turned out to be Notes to Self by Emily Pine, who is an Irish essayist, writer, author. I think she's also a lecturer in UCD. And I am really enjoying this so far. It's got a lot of themes in it that I wasn't expecting it to have. I don't think I was expecting, for example, her to speak about her father's struggle with alcoholism and about having to care for her when he was going through a particularly rough patch with the disease. So reading that is actually very eye-opening, especially because that was all happening in a country that isn't Ireland. Her father was living in Greece at the time that he was put into hospital, and seeing that kind of difference in the standard of care and in how he was feeling in himself and how she was feeling about him being in hospital in a foreign country where he didn't speak the language, where he didn't understand some of the instructions that were being given to him, and how different and difficult it was for the family. But I'm also listening to an autobiography, and I'm listening to an autobiography called Over the Hills and Far Away by Nikki Smedley. That name might not mean anything to you unless I say the word Teletubbies. If you, like me, were a child in the late 90s, if you have siblings who were of preschool age in the late 90s, for example, my brother was born towards the end of the 90s, so he would have been like 2 or 3 years old when the Teletubbies were coming to the height of their kind of fame and the big moments in their television career. So my house was kind of full of Teletubby merchandise. We watched it, we taped it off the television. This is the autobiography of Nikki Smedley, who was the voice, the puppeteer, everything for Lala. And Lala was my favourite Teletubby. I was by a Lala girl. She was yellow, so that's my favourite colour. She was like really girly, and that's what I was also like as a 7-year-old. I was big into pink. I was big into like dressing up, and I was big into like the kind of tutu skirt that Lala had. Height of fashion. But I also remember that Lala was everybody's favourite, because when they little kind of toys came out, you could not find a Lala doll for love nor money. Lala was, in my opinion, the best Teletubby. I'm going to finish the audiobook either before I go to sleep tonight or very early in the morning tomorrow when I get to work. I think I have maybe like 20 minutes left to the audiobook, but it's so good. It takes you through the audition process, the other puppeteers of the other 3 Teletubbies. One of them went on to be a quite successful children's television presenter on CBeebies and on CBBC. One of them was replaced just as the show was starting to be aired, and then their reaction to that, what life was like for them off the camera, what life was like for them in the suit. It's so insightful and it's so entertaining, and it's such a great look behind the scenes and behind the curtain, because we all grew up with the Teletubbies. If you're of my kind of an age, we all grew up with Teletubbies on TV or in the background, or we would be familiar with them. So reading this and hearing the actual voice of Lala, and she does put the voice on sometimes, which is so good. It's just such a comforting hug of a book. It's the kind of book that your inner child is just smiling out at you while you're reading it.
I'm home. I'm so tired. I've tried to unpack some of my stuff. And I also unpacked all of these that I accidentally fell over, picked up and bought with my money. So I'm not going to go into huge detail because I will cover them in my haul at the end of the year. But I got 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. This is a thriller. It's kind of got COVID vibes. It's set during the early stages of the pandemic where a couple move into the same house to kind of get to know each other, and then somebody has a secret dark past. I got The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. I had a NetGalley copy of this, but it expired before I could ever download it. But the concept of it really interested me, so I picked up a final copy of it. I also have Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. This, I believe, has got bipolar representation in it, and I know that Charr from Thoroughly Enjoyed Books is bringing back her bipolar books book club. So if this comes up on it, I'm definitely going to pick that one up for it. I didn't buy this one technically, but you saw me opening a copy of The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston as part of my Words and Kisses subscription. I also got Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juna Dawson. Anything that Juna Dawson touches turns to gold. And this might be a really good entry into sort of fantasy levels for me. And I also, talking of fantasy and entry level into fantasy, got Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. Everyone and their mother is talking about this, and I am nothing if not easily led, so I now also own a copy of this. So, I am exhausted. I have been on the road since 8:30 this morning, which is technically 9:30 German time, and I forgot to put my clock back, but it is actually 5 o'clock here in Germany, bang on. All of the clips that you have just seen, all of the footage that you've just seen over the past however long this vlog is, I have to go and edit that entire thing right now. So I'm going to go make a very strong coffee, make dinner, and kickstart the editing process. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up there every week. Now, getting on out of here.